And it gets even more insidious. And we see this a lot where people are like, well, I just want to move the money from this LLC partnership to this LLC. I'm just going to move it over there. What? How? Well, I just write a check. No. It's not just, hey, we could sue you. It could be embezzlement. That's a crime. You go to jail. Don't drop the soap. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Stacks Over Tax. I'm with the lovely and unstoppable Sterling Grace, and I'm Mark Lewis. And today we're going to be talking about something that we don't really talk about, which is what we see when people come to us. We see a lot of crazy stuff. Some people doing things on their own. Some people went to their CPA. Some people went to their attorney and set up a whole thing, and now they're in jail. I mean, we've seen it all, almost, maybe. So we want to share with you because a lot of you may resonate with some of these things. I'm asking for a friend. So, like, hey, which one of these things might you find yourself in? And we want to make sure that if you are in any of these scenarios that we might be talking about, that you come talk to us or talk to somebody, because most of these things are like, it's not good. So with that, I'm going to kind of hand the master of ceremonies over to Sterling, who has seen all of these things with me. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, we have such a fun time doing consults with clients. We have clients that do everything from, I'm going to say, sort of smaller businesses that are, bigger than lemonade stands, but small businesses, to people that have huge empires in real estate and finance and things of those nature. And then we have some people that just have some fun businesses. Like we recently have a new client, and they have a business, and it's in feathers. And I had no idea that you could make that kind of revenue from selling feathers every year. But I love it. It's actually kind of inspiring that you could just do something that made your heart sing and somehow make money. And so we see it all. I think one of the most consistent across the board things that we see is that no one has any information about compliance, and they don't even know what that word means or why we're talking about it or why it's important. And I think that's a really good place to start, because it's something that's every client that comes through the door.
That's so right. And the worst part about it, Sterling, is that you can have all of your accounting put together. You can have the asset protection people in place for your limited liability company. You can be doing tons of business. You can be working for the government. But if you're not compliant, anybody who wants to come poke around, you got nothing. And especially if you've got a sole proprietorship, so a single member LLC or a single member C or S Corp, if you are not compliant in all the ways that you should be, you don't got anything under scrutiny. Now, we're not going to have time today to go through all the compliance things, but there are 10 plus 1 compliance items that most companies and corporations need to adhere. So for a sole proprietorship, if that's you, meaning just you and an LLC. Now, if you don't have an LLC, then you can still be a sole proprietorship, but you don't have very much compliance. But the minute you set up that LLC, there are things that you need to really adhere to. Now, for a sole proprietor LLC, what's the biggest thing that we see there? Where people violate compliance?
I actually think for the sole proprietorship, no one has a good operating minutes or agreements. They don't even think they're needed, because they're not doing something bigger. They think it's just, their small selves. And so they don't have any of that. And they don't even know they don't have any of that. We have people that don't even have binders, that when I ask them if they have a binder, they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and those people that you're talking about have C corporations and partnerships and S corporations, where in a partnership or a sole proprietorship, it's not required, but boy, you better have it, because in a sole proprietorship, LLC is just you. The IRS already calls that a disregarded entity, meaning they just think it's you. And in a court case, they're going to look at it and go, it's just you, it's an alter ego of yourself fooling around. So it's just you and now all your personal assets. There's no limited liability. A couple of states, they do honor that. Wyoming, Texas, there's a few others. But if you don't have an operating agreement, it doesn't mean that that's it for you in a sole proprietorship. But boy, the more I look, the more I find, hey, even you signing an agreement with the company that's really you creates a little bit of separation, and perhaps enough separation where under scrutiny, you're like, no, look, I'm really doing my best to keep this separate from me, to keep it at arm's length, even though it really is me. I keep it this way. And what breaks all of it down is commingling. That you take your stuff and put it into the company, or you take the company stuff and make it yours. And it's very easy to do in a sole proprietorship because the sole proprietorship is the only thing that has a draw. Meaning any old time you want to reach into the cookie jar and pull money out for yourself, you can do it. Now you're taxed on it, but you're taxed on it anyway. So you can just do this. And as long as, you have money in there, you can. But it's very tricky. Because if all of a sudden it starts looking like you're just really using it for you and the company's using your stuff for it, kind of back and forth without real good accounting, an operating agreement, then anybody's going to look at that and go, it's just you. Yeah. We're going to take it all. So commingling doesn't just happen in sole proprietorships. It happens, and it's even more partnerships, because there it's not just, hey, we could sue you. It could be embezzlement. That's a crime. You go to jail. Don't drop the soap. And it gets even more insidious. And we see this a lot where people are like, well, I just want to move the money from this LLC partnership to this LLC. I'm just going to move it over there. What? How? Well, I just write a check. No. You have to have a legitimate reason. We use the corner drugstore rule as sort of an overarching maxim to manage a lot of the compliance issues that we see, especially around commingling. Because if you wouldn't do it to the corner drugstore, and the corner drugstore wouldn't do it for you, like, for example, pay your mortgage out of your LLC for no good reason, then you sure can't do it to your company in which you're supposed to have an arm's length relationship. So you're like, I'm just going to move it from this company to this company. Would the corner drugstore move that to the local gas station for no good reason? No. Why? Neither should you, without good reason. So the commingling thing is probably it's not the number one thing. It's the easiest little thing to get into that's going to wipe. What else do we see all the time? What other things that show up and you're like, really? You mentioned binders.
Binders. Yeah.
Tell me about without mentioning names, how many billionaires you've worked for and how many binders you've found.
I've worked for 4 billionaires in my career. And one of them has had a binder. One. However, definitely the man who's more diverse in his philanthropy work and very dedicated to that kind of thing in life. So I can understand why he would be the one of all of them. But I've had one that literally had none and had no idea that they needed one or what that was about or why they would have it. And had been very successful in business, but literally had zero idea at all about asset protection, certainly no legacy preservation, and just in general, really sloppy business practices that, so far had not caught up with them. But that is just a matter of time because at that level, there's no way that you're not getting audited. It's just a matter of when, not if, and you don't have to be doing anything unscrupulous. It's just the way it is. No binders.
You said something. Yeah, you said something really interesting. The billionaire had a kit, had a binder with all of his stamps.
Oh yes, that is a very interesting question. Now that you mention it.
So either he had everything in one company, which is a huge mistake, or he had a lot of companies and a nice structure, but only had binders for one.
But only had a binder for one. Probably only had a binder for one. But
my guess. So what's in a binder? Why do we? Why are binders somehow magical?
Well, the most important thing is in the binder is your actual stock certificates. And you have to know where those are and keep record of where they're located for the duration of your company. So, most people I don't think would even know, oh, if I give 10% of my stock to someone, then I need to actually keep up with where that stock certificate lives. And so there's the first thing that's in there that I think is critically important. Your stamp is in there, and your stamp is the way that you make your documents official. There's no, because it's an actual embossing tool. It's not something that could be printed or anything like that. So
it's not an ink.
It's not an ink stamp, no. And I think unless you've had business where you have dealt with being maybe a notary or something of those magnitudes, you don't even realize that that's what's physical about that and why it's physical and what matters about that. So there's that. You keep all of your operating agreements and your minutes and your ongoing business records that are of substance and needs to be maintained and kept up and updated every year.
There's one piece in there that doesn't have to be kept in the kit. You can keep it as an Excel document, actually, but this is also massive compliance, and I've never seen anybody show up this correct. You know what I'm going to say?
I think you're going to say my list of my assets that's conveyed.
No, that'd be in the minutes. And again, we rarely see that done right either. Rarely. Because if you put if you've got, I've conveyed all this property and all these things into my partnership as an example, prove it.
Right.
Prove it. Where did you write that? Yeah. If it's not in the minutes of the corporate meetings or company meetings that you have, then it didn't actually get approved by the managers or the directors because there's no record of that. So you got a bunch of stock certificates, and sure, you might have conveyed the house, and now the deed of it is at the county with the company. But that comic book collection you conveyed, or the Van Gogh art piece you've got, or the gold, or the crypto, or the stock, none of that is really registered there. So prove it. It's at your house also, which shows me that it probably just is yours. If it's not in the minutes, it's not in the company. Now, again, we don't want to get into listed and unlisted items because a car is going to get registered with the county. Your state's going to get registered, or the house is going to get registered. Sorry, this car is going to get registered with the state. The property is going to get registered with the county. Your firearm is going to register with the DOJ. All that other stuff actually gets registered, but not the gold diamond ring, not the equipment that's unlisted. How do we know? It's at your house. It looks like it's just yours. If it's not in the minutes, if it didn't get logged in a way that was so specific that a pile of stuff, some of it yours, some of it not, you could pull it out and go, I know this is mine. How? Because it's in the minutes listed at make, model, year, VIN, color, license plate, mileage, basis, fair market value. Oh, that's clearly your Toyota Tundra. Okay. So that's the thing. But the thing I'm speaking about that the kit has is the transfer ledger.
Oh, yes.
Right. We've never seen anybody have the transfer of stock certificates done correctly. It doesn't have to be in the kit, but it has to be somewhere. And you have to notify the state where that ledger is. And nobody's done that either, except when you started your company. When you started your company, you're like, I will keep the state updated to where this is. Yes, well, you have to tell them where it is. And then all the shareholders have to tell you, because you have to update that ledger, where all the stock certificates are, not where the people that hold them live. So I give Sterling 1,000 shares in my C corporation, and she lives at 123 Main Street. Do I write 123 Main Street? Well, I might. Unless she goes, I'm going to put it in my safety deposit box in my bank. Then that's not what she puts on the transfer ledger, or she tells me to put there. It's 123 Park Street, because that's where the bank is. Aha, Park Street goes there. So we never, ever, we've had attorneys go through, we've had CPAs go through, we've never seen anybody go through this. Now, some of you are like, is that really a thing? How big of a deal is that? Well, it's not that big of a deal, except that it's required by the state. And what are the chances that the state is going to audit you? Not very good, unless you're.
Yeah, one of the things that's the most astounding is how the level of lifestyle in which a person lives has no bearing whatsoever on the way that they come in. We have people who come in that do have some significant start to their process, even if they're a small lemonade stand, but they've really got the knowledge and they've really worked on it and they're very dedicated to learning. And we have some people that had some pretty good, okay, you're running along. We've had household names with their own lawyers teams and accounting teams and CPA firms and have just a hot mess of a structure and even worse, actually.
You should tell them, and I'll detail if we need to. Tell them about our household name who visited us.
Yeah.
Not without saying the name.
Yes, of course. So we have a lovely client that we started doing business with who is very well known in the world. And when he brought his structure to see us, we just kept staring at it because something seemed it was very complex. It's a lot of moving parts and pieces on there, but for some reason we couldn't figure out exactly what was wrong. And we just kept looking at it, and he was talking and we were looking and we're like, something's just so off. And then we realized, his attorney team set him up that he's laundering his own money.
They're laundering money. No wonder we couldn't figure out. I'm like, gosh, we must not. Maybe I just don't know enough here. How would this work? Oh, it's so obvious now. Y'all launder money.
Yeah. And it was a massive surprise to him as well, and completely not the intention at all, actually. I think the look on his face was utterly just as shocked as ours, because we had to explain why that doesn't work the way they had done it. It sounded reasonable. There was things about it that sort of sounded like, this is a very in alignment with his vision in the world and what he wanted to work on and what he was committed to. But the way they had done it was not workable at all. And, could potentially get him a new uniform, which would be very clashing to the kind of stylish and dashing man that he normally is. So,
indeed, on the jets on which he flies. So, yes. Yeah. And I remember we asked him, so who set this up for you? He goes, we had an attorney do this. I'm like, is he still working with you? He goes, oh no, he's in jail for stealing whatever it was, $500,000 or $1 million from the company. I'm like, and you just continued with his structure.
Yeah. Sometimes it's really comical.
And if you have questions, look, we're happy to just reach out, and we're happy to answer them. And, every now and then we go live and on Instagram or TikTok and just answer questions for people. So, you can reach out there or just join us in one of our programs. But either way, we're here to help, and we're here to dispel misinformation with not the regular middle of the road information, with the information that we believe is the keys to the success of the future of American citizens, which is not in your 401k or your IRA or your LLC or your S Corp. It's working with the only people that are going to survive, and that's the corporations, and being as much like them as you possibly can.
Until next time, be wealthy.